Welcome back to Two Brothers Comics. Today we're going to do another follow-up video where I'm going to take a look at all of the comments you guys dropped on that last discussion topic about are we buying labels or are we buying comic books. Now that video, you guys seemed to receive it pretty well, even if you didn't necessarily agree with the conversation or had different opinions. It was excellent, guys. Had over 100 comments dropped on the video. And there was a lot to get into. So I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's do another responding to your comments video about this. And so what I did is I went through, took some screenshots, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit more and kind of give you my feedback, my opinion, because this has been a really good discussion topic so far about the CBCS, CGC differences and opinions and all of that good stuff. So anyways, first one, Goody KG, and if I mispronounce any of these usernames, keep in mind they're internet usernames, they're crazy, some of them, my bad. Goody KG says, honestly, I like how the grading isn't just a white sticker placed over the label. To me, the CBCS has more of a simple look, which makes the book stand out more in my opinion. And that's exactly what Steve's going for over there at CBCS. Is to have that simple look, to have the book stand out a little bit. And that was kind of the conversation I brought up. And a lot of people had some really good conversations or responses to that aspect. And we'll talk about that because my mind changed a little bit, right? I'm definitely getting a different opinion and kind of altering, but that's what these videos are about, right? So Canvas Comics says, for the Lord of everything holy, just add some color hologram behind the grading at least. But I totally understand, Steve, and that's what a lot of people are kind of saying is, when I'm in Millbot says when I'm buying a slab, I'm buying both the book and the grade that is being assigned. So yeah, the label does matter. CBCS tweak your labels. Ralph Alonso says currently the grade blends in too much with the rest of the label. It needs to stand out more. How about a black box with white numbers? That's a very interesting topic. And then Fade to Black says, I understand why Steve feels that way, but he's wrong. If I bought a Picasso painting, I don't put it in a frame from the dollar store so people focus on the painting. Steve, change the label. And then Anthony Wilson, who is always commenting on the videos. Generally, they're some of the best comments. But in this one, he says, you don't have to be CGC, but you can center the text, have a nicer font, and a glossier label. It does look a little dull, like it's on construction paper. So all of those things I really get, right? And we'll get into another topic, kind of round of conversations people are having in the comments. But I understand that, right? You don't have to mimic CGC, but you could improve little things, the paper quality, make the ink stand out a little more, maybe do a black and a white. And I understand the concept of what Millbot was saying. If I'm going to buy this high-dollar book, I'm going to spend the money to get it graded. Yeah, you know what? Maybe the frame, the label, the concept of that adds to it. And I can certainly understand that. So there are certainly things that CBCS could do to still keep a simple label, but make it look a little better, maybe present the information a little bit better. Adam Rosette dropped a really interesting comment. He goes, it's not just the white box on the label, which I get. It's the information design that most people are keying in on, even if they can't articulate it well, which is a good point, right? A lot of people will just say it looks bad, it looks cheap, or whatever. And again, I'm just repeating, but the information design, I get it. It is somewhat similar to CGC, but there are certainly some differences. But he goes on to say it's clarity that people think enjoy most about the CGC label, which is, I can understand that. You look at a CGC label, you know exactly what it is, where it's at, what the grade is. I mean, it's boom, boom, boom. And he goes on to describe the CGC information design, which I get that. And then he says CBCS just doesn't understand information design. The information is presented inconsistently. Some stuff is centered, some is not. It just presents itself as a little sloppy. You're making me want to design a better label for them, but I don't have the bandwidth at the moment. And that received 10 thumbs up and 6 responses in the comments. So again, I think that's definitely interesting, right? If you don't want to change, add the white box or copy or mimic, maybe there is a way to present the information a little bit better, okay? And the graphic design I do basically stops at what we do for the channel, so that's not something necessarily I'm the expert on, but I certainly could understand that maybe there's a better way to present the information in the way he's talking about to kind of step it up a little bit, right? So maybe higher grade material with a little bit better information design, tweaking it there, and it doesn't necessarily have to mimic the CGC. Not a bad idea. So ComiKon, who's also a member of the channel, thank you for that. He says, I agree that the CBCS case is far superior. Absolutely. He said he's been on board since Steve Brock started it up. Let the book be the focus, not the label. And that's why I hit all the custom labels from CGC with different characters. It's just more to distract from the book itself. I still submit to both, but only CBCS for his personal collection. And then he did make the distinguishing here. I said in my previous video that Steve came from GGC. He wanted to point out he is the original grader at CGC and head grader until he left. Effectively, he was CGC for a number of years, so that's definitely a fair point and good clarity there. What's very interesting is he says he hates the custom labels, but what I will say is a lot of you guys said, well, maybe he could do some custom, Steve could do some custom labels over there at CBCS. Work with some of these indie comic manufacturers to create maybe some custom Something's Killing the Children labels, or maybe some custom Kanto labels, or maybe some of these bigger indie titles that are ongoing, like maybe a custom Spawn label. And they said that would be really helpful. And then you have the flip side of that, where a lot of people, like ComiKon, are saying, I hate it all, I hate all the concept of that, right? But We Got Issue says the label is part of the presentation, and if that wasn't the case, CBCS would be a better company than CGC. Basically, he thinks the solution to the problem is someone should open up a company that give a verifiable raw comic book grade that is good for 6 months, or have the raw comic book grade verified 30 days before selling. Now, I will tell you, CBCS does offer raw comic book grades. So they do that in a way. It is sealed up. It does come back in a, I forget what it's called, but basically you can, like a tamper evident type seal. So they do absolutely do raw grading, and it is, fairly affordable, to be honest with you. Potential hot comics. This is where we were kind of talking about Steve not wanting to copy CGC. He says nobody's asking them to copy CG, just make it different and better. I would definitely pay more for custom labels, make the book and case more attractive overall. So there's a pretty big sentiment here that the labels and the cases do in fact, obviously, right, they do matter to people, but the sentiment has been they add value to the book in terms of presentation, which I get. Absolutely do get that. Mac the Comic Conner says, let them keep being hard-headed about the labels. Always will be number 2. Now, one thing you guys will point out is I didn't pull out all of the comments that just mimicked exactly kind of what I was saying in the video, right? I want different opinions to be heard. So there were a ton of people that were like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel. But I really wanted to highlight some different point of views. We mentioned earlier, Johnny Faster says, I've said it before and I'll say it again, if they would make the same deal CGC made with Marvel or DC, get some custom indies labels, they'd be shocked at how much extra business they pick up. He says he agrees it should be more about the book than the label, but I'd also be lying if I said sprucing it up wouldn't make it a little bit more appealing. Absolutely. Jay Picha here says, and if I mispronounced your name, I apologize, but he says here, respectfully, the difference isn't just the white box. Those subtle small things in design all add up to make an aesthetically big difference to the eye, which is why people don't like them instinctively. Because they are bad. Even the text alignment all right on the CG stuff makes a difference. All the small things in design matter. All that being said, I totally get your point of it being a great book. I think it's a cop-out for CBCS to say we don't want to take away from the book or don't want to be like CGC. A really large percentage of the market is tell you it's bad. It's silly to try and say, no, it's not. And this was a consistent point. Roshan Robinson, I hope I got the name right. CBCS is ignoring their target market, complaining about their labels. Why should their target market trust them with their customer service? If he doesn't want to be CGC, then why does he have the same exact colors on the labels? When you have the superior product, you want to differentiate yourself in appearance from the competition, not imitate them. And that was sick of being rich. And then I get that, right? So a lot of people did make that point. And I think I said this in one of my earlier videos about it, kind of in this series, we'll say, is if so many people are, in fact, complaining, I get both sides of views. I understand why people do not like the label, and I also get the people that do. Personally, it doesn't necessarily bother me all that much. Honestly, I'm fine with the way the label looks. I care more about the book, and again, I grade my books to kind of protect and store. There are only a certain number of books that I'm super, concerned with wanting to be able to display them, and the label to me is not going to make that much of a difference. But I get it, right? The concept of, if this is the people you're selling to, the best business practice is in fact to listen to them. If you don't add the white box, maybe you can readjust or realign your information. Maybe you can improve the paper quality. Maybe you use some different type of ink to make it look a little bit better. Maybe a glossy ink or something like that. Maybe you try some different things, right? And see kind of what the results are, because that was a constant thing. If your market is telling you this, the customers, why aren't you listening to it? And I absolutely get that. I do. Now would be the time if they did that and really perfected that label. CBCS would by far and away take it away. So, final two comments here. Armed, and then Bubs Comics says, if I'm buying a comic or a label, I'm buying both. Why do I have to settle for just one? He keeps saying it's his company and that's how he wants to do it. However, are you doing this for yourself, quote unquote, the owner, or are you doing this for the customers? If you ignore your customers' wants and requests, your business will most likely not progress. Why not give the customer the option, like a custom label, one being a white background? It can't be that hard. I have a few CBCS cases and they are solid and look good when you have them in your hand, but it can still be better. If it's true the only reason people buy CGC is because of the label, then CBCS owner would be wise to change his way of thinking. Either way, I am not for one or the other. I've had issues with both companies, mostly poor quality with CGC and more customer service and long delays with CBCS. Anyways, good video. Take care. And I will tell you, from what it sounds like, I've seen a lot of people have great customer service experience with both and very bad with both. So customer service is probably a toss-up. I gave you guys my experience. I mean, I got a response within 30 minutes. I've been seeing other people getting responses directly from Steve within a few minutes. But I get that, right? I absolutely understand it. If it's your target market, your customer base is this loud about it, why not at least try and please the customer there? And that's a point I do understand wholeheartedly, and I think it's certainly a good thing to consider, right? And then Bubs Comics had a very, very similar response here. The answer is you're paying for all of it. The CBCS case is better, the grading is better, the label is not. They don't have to copy the CGC label, but there are lots of designs out there that would complement the book better than CBCS label. It's not just a white box missing. The entire label is very boring. Also, to say that CBCS is better than CGC is one that needs some proof. CBCS has had some terrible customer service that is outsourced to overseas. Unless you send an email to Steve himself, you get nothing but confused information. So again, in my experience, I got something directly back from one of the regional managers. I've not had to call in, but I have heard several people talk about the call center being overseas, and that is certainly frustrating. But I've also heard that even the customer service down in Sarasota, people have gotten no responses. We've experienced that, whether you call or email or whatnot. So I don't necessarily think where the customer service is located is an issue as much as it is not enough folks on staff to maybe handle the inflow. And that certainly is an issue in every single industry right now. Also, they do not offer USPS registered mail as a shipping option. FedEx and UPS shipping rates are terrible. I still use CBCS, but wish it would fix the customer service label and offer USPS shipping. The label attractiveness matters, even if they can come up with a bunch of excuses not to change it. So there was a lot of folks on there. I don't want to harp on that too much. A lot of folks were saying they love the CBCS label, the slab, all of it looks great. A lot of people had a very for CGC where CBCS will never take over. A lot of people were kind of middle of the road like Bubs, like, hey, look, everything is great about CBCS, but these few minor things, one of which being the label. So from a customer service, from a product offering, right, from a business standpoint, it is kind of, I don't want to say silly, but you could do better financially, monetarily, all of that if you would just maybe try a few different options, right, from a business standpoint. But I do get both arguments. This is, again, just continuing that conversation. And we did have one more comment, which was my favorite comment of all, which I don't get. But It says, this guy gets paid by CBCS under the books. And that was on my honest review of CBCS video that came a couple of days ago. And that, my friends, whoever commented that, whoever's watching, couldn't be further from the truth. If I was getting paid by CBCS, I assure you I would not have just recorded a 20-minute long video highlighting all of the more negative comments and creating a conversation in that area. But people want to do some ads or paid revenue, paid ads that way, I will put your little, stuff down at the bottom of the screen. But now, for real, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed a little bit about the CBCS, and I hope you enjoyed these videos of us kind of responding back to some of these and kind of creating the conversation a little bit further. So drop more comments. Let's talk more about it. Guys, you're the best part of Two Brothers Comics, and as always, collect your way.